Remember growing up making the perfect mixtape was an art? It would take hours or even days to get the mood just right. It's an art that's nearly been lost in today's drag and drop digital playlist world.
We're four friends of 35 years with many, many mixtapes between us. Join us each episode as we pick a theme, discuss the songs, and build an infinite mixtape. Welcome to the Mixtape Diaries. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Mixtape Diaries. We are back with another wild card / grab bag / mixed bag episode for you. We still can't decide what we want to call these things, but...
Potluck.
Potluck, there you go.
Cornucopia.
Yeah.
Smorgasbord.
Smorgasbord. I like that one.
You've got me and Mark and Brad with you today. Our diarist Bob is still on his summer break, but we don't have anything else to do, so we figured we just record some podcasts.
Clearly, his agent has done a much better job negotiating time off than our agents. And by my agent, I have no agent, so hence why I'm probably not getting any time off.
I'm pretty bummed he's not on this one because I think I really am going to need his alliance.
Mm-hmm. I think you're okay.
So a little peering behind the curtain. It might seem like Bob is on the Around the World cruise. We recorded these three at the same day. Because we found time together, and when we find time together, we can't let go.
That's right.
We should just record the next 84 hours of content just consecutively through the holiday.
Peering around the curtain seems a little creepy.
We're also going to apologize for my audio because my laptop fan has been running for 2 hours now. And we'll just see what that sounds like later.
That's because we are on fire. This is hot stuff.
My laptop is on fire.
Yeah, it's too much.
Hey, if you're listening to this podcast, please rate us. 5 stars would be amazing. Review us, share this podcast with your friends. Every time you do that, it really helps us get this out to more listeners, which we love. So show us some love.
Yeah, and if you don't show us love, then don't comment because we don't care then.
Yeah, we're not interested in negative reviews.
No, we're not. Just please be nice.
If you find us grating or needy or confrontational, well, screw you.
You can't knock me down. I'll just get back up again.
Just go listen to another podcast. Thank you.
Yeah. Go listen to Smartless or something.
We don't need this. We don't need this from you. God.
All right. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, we should mention actually also the playlist, which...
Oh, yes, please.
When you're tired of listening to us talk and you just want to cut to the music already, you can find the songs that we've chosen. They are installed. We try to do it same day, right? We try to do it like right when this thing lands. We update our playlist on Spotify and Apple Music. Search for the Mixtape Diaries. You'll find it there. I think, boy, the last 6 we've added really have... I think just they've improved the overall quality of the playlist. I think they've been great. So let's see what happens today.
Mark, I think you're first.
Ooh, I am? That's exciting.
I love your pick. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do it. This is a good one.
Yeah, I actually like this pick too. And
Shimmy.
I guess I'm listeners, you just didn't need to see what we just saw. Which is Brad doing some sort of shimmy yeah, which I'm not quite sure, but
I was
anyway.
doing it too.
Yeah, but yours wasn't bad.
Only one of them was objectionable. And that was me.
One really threw me off my game, and I'm like, wait, who am I? What am I doing here?
He was like, suddenly Brad has a neurological disorder and I can't help him.
Like texting Kate on the side here. I think you need to go down to the basement. Is he okay?
So it's funny is you might have said to me while in the middle of what I was doing that you might have told me to insert name of band here.
Hold steady.
Boom. We call that a segue.
Nailed it.
That is a segue. Yeah, so the Hold Steady is the first band we're going to talk about, and this is a full-on complete assist by Brad, who just saw these guys a few nights ago, if I'm not mistaken, right, Brad?
In Chicago at the Salt Shed, which is a very cool venue. It is the old Morton Salt Factory, has been turned into a venue. I think it was just like a longhouse that held a big pile of salt in it.
It was.
I think that's what it was.
Mm-hmm. Don confirmed that. I asked him about it.
Oh, yeah.
He remembers it from growing up there. Mm-hmm.
You drive by it on the freeway and it has the whole big Morton's signage on it, right? Chick with the umbrella. Yeah. Anyway, the Uber driver who circled around the thing 4 or 5 times because we couldn't find the entry point. Ultimately, I made it there. Great show, really fun. I'm usurping the time. This is Mark's song, so have at it.
No, I mean, I think the setup's just as important as talking about the song. Plus, I don't have a lot of filler, so this is great. Just kidding. But yeah, no, so I picked the song Stuck Between Stations, which came off of their 2006 album, and subsequently what Apple would consider one of their essential albums, for whatever what that means. When Brad said he was seeing the Hold Steady, I was like, the Hold Steady? I need to refresh my memory on this band. And what happened next was just pure joy.
There are nights when I think that South Paradise was right. Boys and girls in America, they're such a sad time together. Sucking off each other at the demonstrations, making sure they make us straight. Crushing one another with colossal expectations, depending on discipline, sleeping late. She was a really cool kisser and she wasn't all that strict of a Christian. She was a damn good dancer, but she wasn't all that great of a girlfriend. He likes the warm feeling, but he's tired of all the dehydration.
I happened to click on this song, and I was immediately transformed to a place where I couldn't decide if I was listening to the Replacements or Bruce Springsteen, and I believe that was the first thing I said on the text thread. And unbeknownst to me, I will read you something straight from Apple Music that kind of started to blow my mind, which was The Hold Steady is a band who upheld the values and integrity of indie and punk rock. They were not afraid to embrace rock classism, fusing the bar between the vigor of the Replacements with the epic scale musical backdrops of Bruce Springsteen. Whoa, that's a mouthful first and foremost, but secondly, this band is the perfect, like, if you were going to fuse those two guys, that's literally what it was. You had kind of like the attitude and kind of rockness of the Replacements with just this anthemic kind of lyrical deliveries that you're so used to the Boss. I could hear Born to Run in there, and at the same time I could see Paul Westberg flicking cigarettes into the crowd. So it just was absolutely joyous. I've listened to this particular track a nauseous amount of times. Liz is maybe turning into Dawn here, Carla, with similar threshold being reached, like krautrock. But it is just so good. And I honestly have never really listened to this band, to be quite candid, and knew the name, but really haven't ever spent any real time with them. So this has just been an awesome, I won't call it a rediscovery because I can't even say that I ever really discovered them other than knowing that they were out there. But they were founded in Brooklyn, New York, and I just love this song, love this album, and then just really getting into the early depths of this band and what they have to offer. But how can you go wrong with kind of the epic scale of Springsteen and the Replacements fused together? Like, can that be bad?
So the last time we talked about a band that was influenced by the Replacements and Springsteen was Titus Andronicus. And that doesn't turn out so bad either. And interestingly, those two bands have a real affinity for each other. Craig Finn, frontman for Hold Steady, Patrick Stickles for Titus Andronicus. They hang together. And in fact, Craig Finn, here's a little bit of trivia. Those little bits on the monitor, the Titus Andronicus album, where they're like reading quotes from Abraham Lincoln and Walt Whitman, right? Like setting this whole Civil War thing. Well, one of the readers is Craig Finn. So they've been close for a while. And I kind of feel like when I saw the Hold Steady in Boston, they were touring with Titus Andronicus. I can't confirm that, but I feel like I saw them both, if not at the same time, around the same time. So really fun show. Like they are happy to be here. They come out, they're animated. He's waving at the crowd. He can't stop singing. So he'll walk away from the microphone like while the guitarist is playing a solo, and he'll still be singing like and gesturing at the crowd. Just, yeah, fun stuff. He's one of those American poets who plays a guitar at the same time. You know, that's where poetry sits now, is we have these people who write really good song lyrics. Stuck Between Stations is so cool. Love this song. It's my favorite one.
It's funny that you say American poet, because I think we've all considered Paul Westerberg very much the same, like one of the great lyrical geniuses of our time. And so you can just see this kind of come into life with the Hold Steady, especially with Craig Finn and his vocal deliveries. There's just, and I mildly misspoke. So while the band is in New York as we speak, they were formed in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So they're Brooklyn based now, but formed in Minneapolis. So the replacement thing definitely becomes
I hadn't thought about that,
even a bigger link up, right?
For sure.
And then the Boss becomes a bigger link up when you get to Brooklyn, and Jersey's right across, the way there. So kind of mind blowing, but I'm very excited to kind of continue my journey with this band, because for a band that's been around since 2005, 2003, to just be discovering them really 20 years later and feeling like, I think Carla, you mentioned this a little earlier, and I'll pass the baton over to you to talk, but I feel like it's still super relevant and on point for today, even though all the stuff was recorded 20 some years ago. So
yeah, I really love this band, Brad. I'm glad you decided to go see them in Chicago that night. I just think this, this is like a rock band, right? Like when you think of just like a straight rock band, that is the Hold Steady. 3
guitars.
Yeah.
On stage at the same time. Yeah.
It's great. They're just a terrific band, and that Minneapolis sound, I think knowing that really like carries through. This was a great pick.
Don't you feel like you get like some throwback to the Alarm in here too?
Yeah,
and like,
definitely.
And I think about, we talked a couple episodes ago and how we've been kind of, the memory of Brent Young, throughout kind of like our thoughts here in these selections. I just think of Brent and Joe and Sam when I hear music like this, because I think they turned me on to the Alarm. They turned me on to the Replacements. And like, so I get this real warm, fuzzy feel when I listen to music like this, because I really immediately think of those 3 guys and the fact that they taught me about this kind of music. And one of the wonderful things that Brent will always leave with me, no matter where he is, it's these kind of influences he had on my life, amongst many others. But I sent this to Sam and I'm like, dude, this makes me think of you. And then we went down a rabbit hole. I sent him some Buffalo Tom. Like we started going crazy, weird, right? But like, it just you start to get down this path. But anyway, that's all I'll say. I don't want to bogart all the time.
No, this was a great pick.
Yeah, that brings to mind at the Saturday night party that we had for Brent, there was a point where Here Comes a Regular came on over the PA, and there was a lot of people swinging their glasses around, singing that song at the top of their lungs. Yeah. Should shout out Pat McConaughey too, because
Patty.
That's a guy who loves the Replacements, and you don't have to spend much time with Pat before he is to the Replacements what I don't know I am to Noi, maybe.
Yes. Yes.
There's a real enthusiasm and love there, and so I hope he's listening to this band too. But yeah, you think about that thread, right? I would say let's start with like Lou Reed. So Lou Reed to Springsteen, or maybe Dylan, or you want to go to Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Dylan to Lou Reed, to Springsteen, to Paul Westerberg, bring a little Shane McGowan, and then you get to the next generation, and that's Patrick Stickles, that's Craig Finn from the Hold Steady. Very different sounds, these bands, but you can see why they would have an affinity for each other. I was exhausted. I'd been out running in the rain, and I get this text from my friend Joe. He's like, I think I'm going to go to that show. I'm leaving in like 15 minutes. I was like, well, you know what? I'm not going in 15 minutes. I might go. And I kicked myself around a little bit and decided, you know what, like, you're going to turn 50. You need to keep doing shit. So was glad I went. Could barely stand for the duration of the show. These old bones, but
it looked great.
Yeah.
From all the clips you sent, it looked like a good show.
That was their 20th anniversary tour. So you should look for them because
cool.
I don't doubt they're coming to LA.
Yeah, they probably are. There's an article that ran in NPR back in 2007 of all years, and it was titled "The Hold Steady, America's Bar Band."
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, they do have a bar band quality.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's that kind of rock, like, right? That's like that little pocket of rock that is bar band rock.
And maybe 90% of the songs are about drunken parties.
Yeah.
Right? Being drunk and high at a party or not. And wishing you were. Yeah.
Riff heavy mixture of classic rock and lyrically dense storytelling. That's the very perfect summary of it all. So great. Well, I'm glad you guys like the pick. I figured you would. It's kind of an easy one to throw in there. Not antagonizing anybody with this pick. So
was that my segue?
Yeah, I think it is. Let's go to you, Carla. What do you got?
I didn't think this was going to be a contentious pick, but apparently I was wrong.
I think for the record, it's only contentious with one of the three of us.
So I picked the Yeah Yeah Yeahs off their latest album, Cool It Down, which came out last year, 2022. And I chose the first song off that album, Spitting Off the Edge of the World, which features Perfume Genius.
Dry your breath. Dark places shall be none.
She's melting houses of gold.
And the kids cry out. We're spitting off the edge of the world. Out in the night. Never had no chance. Nowhere to hide. Spitting off the edge of the world. Out comes the
You know, it's been almost 10 years since the Yeah Yeah Yeahs have had an album, and there is the kind of cinematic quality of this song really struck me from the first second that I heard it. A little different for them, right? I don't want to say that they're like garage rocky, but I mean, I think we're used to more like guitars and just Karen O kind of wailing a bit. I mean, I love the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I don't mean that in a negative way, but this is a real different direction for them. It's a little more, this song in particular is very synth heavy. That comes in from that collaboration with Perfume Genius. I was just really into this song. And honestly, when I first heard this album, I mean, I will still say this is one of the best albums that I heard in 2022. I actually kind of think it came out at the end of 2022, so it may have been earlier this year that I was really kind of first listening to it. But I liked it as a little bit of a different direction for them. I don't know. I don't have a lot prepared for this one, but I knew I was going to get a little bit of a fight on it. But it is a different direction for them, so I kind of understand.
So I might be the problem child here. I'm trying to decide how I feel about it. And I guess let me start with the gut reaction and then apologize for it and try to be fairer than I. So my gut reaction is, yeah, this song's not bad. I like it. But I feel like it's taking us further down the road of rock and roll's slow and steady decline. Like it's what's killing rock music right now. And like, I feel like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, that first album, it's like they were holding a knife to your throat, man. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was powerful. And now I feel like they're aiming for a Super Bowl halftime gig. If they had featured not Perfume Genius, but the right pop star, they'd be on the 50-yard line, and they could bring in those fake people who cheer.
Do you think it sounds that commercial? Well, I guess that's what kind of surprises me.
Well, so I haven't listened to the album. And this is where I feel like I need to like throw the bus in reverse, because I don't like new music. And new music, I don't know. Like, even the new music I like, the newer new music sucks. Like St. Vincent, I like their new music. Then they put out an album that's crap. And the Arctic Monkeys were like, you know what? We shouldn't sound like rock musicians anymore. We should do something different. And it sucks. And I don't know. James does a little bit of this too on their newer records, as they get into that synth territory. And here's where I wonder if I'm being fair, right? Because if they had started there, right? I've been waving that Eurythmics record at you because I love it so freaking much. The first Eurythmics album. And it's the same component parts maybe as what we're seeing here. But this just sounds like someone had a conversation with them about like, hey, like, why don't you integrate some pop elements? And thank God they didn't go as far as auto-tuning her. But yeah. I don't know. Like, and as I said, I like the song. So I'm just mad and I'm just an old mad and angry.
Here's the thing.
And repetitive.
But here's the thing, because I think you're kind of hitting on something that's a little bit deeper than like your visceral reaction to this song and whether you like it or don't like it. I think your reference point to the Yeah Yeah Yeahs is Mosquito, which was 20 years ago, and it just all blew our minds because it had so much edge and attitude to it. And I think whether it's the Yeah Yeah Yeahs or James or Arctic Monkeys or any artist that we love, once their career spans 10, 15 years, 20 years, there's a level of maturity that just naturally comes in. When you're making your first album or two, they're kids, they're young, there's edge to them, they're scratching and clawing to make it. Karen O 20 years later has kids and, is successful. Yeah. And what they sing about now isn't really edgy anymore. They're singing about what their experiences are today, which are going to be way more mellow, way more produced. There's more money involved in the production that they're doing at this point in time. And so I think a lot of that edge goes away from the artists that we love. And I go through this all the time. I mean, we were just dialoguing about this a few weeks ago about Weezer. I mean, think about Pinkerton and the Blue Album to like the god awful. Weezer should just be banned from doing anything anymore right now because it's so god awful. Other than covers, because that's all they seem to be able to do. And so I feel like that's a little bit of probably what you're doing. It's funny enough. It says here, like, even the difference between the first album Mosquito in 2013 to this album Cool It Down is a sense of maturity. So actually saying what I was just saying here, instead of tearing up the club, they're reminiscing about it. And I feel like that epitomizes
barf.
Yeah, it is barf. I agree with you on this front, but I don't think Carla should get caught in the crossfire of the reality. This is the reality of what happens to aging rockers. They mellow out and you just don't get the edge anymore.
Right, but we take the keys away from our parents when they can't drive the car anymore, and it's hard to ask them to do it. I don't know. I mean, what I struggle with is it the change that I have a problem with? Like, if they had started with this in 2003, I might have liked it, but I just don't feel like a band starts with this in 2003.
Editor's insert. Hi everyone, it's your diarist Carla here. We had a little technical difficulty while we were recording this portion of the podcast. Mark's connection dropped a few times and then my connection dropped. So if the conversation feels a little weird in this particular section, that's why. So we thought we would let you know that, and we hope you're enjoying the episode. And now let's get back to it.
I ruined it. You were in such a good mode. I just all of a sudden my screen just my internet just closed out. So
no, I guess one of the things that I have an opinion that comes from somewhere, and then because I'm who I am, I ask myself why I have that opinion, whether it's fair and whether it's right or wrong. Because strong opinions, generally speaking, are bad ones or are dangerous ones. But I think we should stop letting rock musicians record new material. Oh, here goes Carla. We lost Carla.
Oh my God. It's so weird. This has been the best one of the three.
Yeah.
And we're like losing each other.
We just lost Carla. She's back. I feel like somewhere Karen O is pushing buttons. She's just like, I can't get the one guy I want to make shut up out of the room. I can get the other guys. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, is rock and roll exclusively the province of people aged 17 to 30? I feel like maybe it should be. I don't know. I just watched the guy from the Hold Steady rock out, you know?
I think there's just been a natural progression with this band. And, you know, some of the interviews I read with Karen O, she even said, she's like, I kind of realized like I didn't have to like destroy myself on stage every single night to get people to like my music. And I think there's a part of us that kind of liked that raw, uninhibited like edge that she had in those early times, right? But like to Mark's point and to all of these articles that are saying this too, like they are older and their music has progressed into this way. Now, that being said, the rest of the record I really don't feel like sounds like this song. I think it feels like a slightly less edgy, but still a little more to the yeah yeahs that we're used to. It's not as hard or as raw or as heavy as those early records are, but I think it really does hold true to the band as a whole, and it just being an older and more mature band. This kicks it off in this kind of a synth way, but the rest of the songs don't really sound like this. I don't know. I'm really into this record. It truly is one of my. We could really use Bob on this one because I think Bob and I really were like, oh, this record is so good when it first came out. So,
right. No, I think that's great because I feel like most bands' new albums I grudgingly listen to because they're going to play 4 or 5 songs from that record at the show, and I got to get my head around it, right? And now, I'm almost getting to the age where I can't be bothered. Like I saw the Pixies, and there was like a big chunk in the middle where they're like, "We're going to play 7 songs from our last 2 albums," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I'm sure, right? Like, they could be good. I don't know. So maybe it's not finding the energy, not wanting to like do the work to get my head around. This isn't Fever to Tell, but like. You know,
I think it's hard.
It should be.
I think it's hard for us to see these bands too, because we do just like the Pixies is actually kind of an interesting band to bring up because Tia and Sam and I just saw them live recently, and they actually did kind of like play all the hits.
Yeah, same
right?
tour.
Same tour. I mean, they did kind of like the middle was like a little funky, but then I don't know. It just felt real. It was a great show, but felt a little formulaic in nature. Like you can kind of tell they don't really probably care about playing with each other. They don't really like each other very much. There's not a lot of interaction. They're just like whipping through the songs, and that
Franz Ferdinand kicked their ass, and I don't think anyone's
1,000%
going to argue that.
1,000%. It was a very different vibe within the band. Like you could just see it. And I don't know, I think it's hard when we go to see these bands live that we've loved for 10, 20, 30 years because we do want to hear, like, we want that raw, edgy, like what drew us to them from the beginning. And so then I do understand your point that when you hear stuff like this, you're like, I'm not into this. This is like literally not. This is like an upbeat Maps, you know, like the ballad, right? It's like a sped up Maps.
Right, but what I like,
but I love it
about Maps is, what I like about Maps is that there's the quiet to it. There's the tones, and then there's no tones. There's like presence and absence. This is like, I'm just gonna smoosh 15 different tracks of synths over this, and it's just a big wash of nothing. But again, like the song is, I don't dislike the song. I don't like what it's doing to rock music. And honestly, maybe I shouldn't care, right? Because if I'm going to listen to bands from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and sometimes the 90s and love that music, there's plenty enough there. I don't need Yeah to make an album that sounds just like Fever to Tell, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's just things are just so different today, right? You know, bands aren't even getting together in the same room to record anymore. So I think there's an intimacy and that's kind of being lost in modern day. And I think, you know what, like, to be a cynic about it, capitalism is fucking this all up too. Like, it's you know, there's money involved now, and record companies, you know, need to make their money, and I guess artistic bandwidth, I'm not sure how much is there anymore. Now maybe somebody established like the IAS, who's been around for 20 years, can, you know, Carno can get away with a little more because of proven success there. But I definitely think music's lost its edge a bit. There's a homogenization going on that is destroying it. And we might be cynical, and we might have lived the last really great time in music, because until earnings per share stop driving all of our decisions, whether it's down to music, clothing, food, you name it, like this is kind of the reality. Maybe the future just sucks for everything new, or maybe we're just getting salty and old.
It's funny that you say that, because that whole like capitalist greed is like a theme that's like running through a lot of these songs.
Anyway, I don't dislike this album. I don't dislike the song, but I also see where Brad's coming from on it, and I think it's kind of this kind of engineered tension going on in music right now. But I sure as hell would rather listen to the Yeah than most shit being released right now, even if this isn't as good as Mosquito, right? So like, it's still better than anything. But to your point, Brad, why should we only have to settle for that, right? Why can't,
or why should they
answer.
have to try to sound more and more like the rest of the shit that's out right now? I mean, I guess that's what it feels like to me. I said Churches. That got everybody mad, which is funny because, Carla, you picked Churches.
Are you the one that
I was
picked
like backing
Churches?
you on
Did
that.
you pick Churches again? That's what you said.
Is that what I said? I
It
meant,
was so accusatory.
no, but I had your back on that because I remember I said they were kind of like Curve Light.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You did.
I sort of had your back on that, I guess. But, and you're like, "Ugh, not Churches." And I was like, okay, all right. Okay.
And then Bob popped right in on that one. I was like, yes, Bob's in my defense.
Yeah. So anyway, I won't go on. We've all registered our concerns.
But I do think everyone should listen to this record if you have liked this band, because I think it's an interesting record from them.
So having said that, I hate new music for the most part. I'm going to pick a fairly new song from 2016.
But I had one more thing to say. Wait, they don't love you like I love you, Brad.
Well played.
Thank you.
Well played. A tip of the chapeau, as you would say.
Chapeau. I love the chapeau. We should track the award of chapeaus and see who's got the lead. We should have a little chapeau meter.
Yeah. Instead of thumbs up, you get chapeaus.
You just got chapeau right at you there, Mark. So I picked a song from 2016 by Car Seat Headrest called Vincent. So this song is off Car Seat Headrest's Teens of Denial record, which according to Wikipedia is the 10th Car Seat Headrest album. That's crazy. So my friend Sean clued me into these guys right around the time this record came out. So 7 years ago now, which is just remarkable, the passage of time. You gotta be kidding me. He loaned me his copies of Teens in Denial and Teens of Style, which is another kind of companion record that came out a year earlier in 2015. It looks like these are the records. I mean, these are really kind of the records that broke this band, but it's just the first two that they put out on the Matador label. So they weren't on a label before. Before that, Car Seat Headrest was really just the DIY project of the frontman, Will Toledo. Will Toledo? I think it's Will Toledo. Toledo, if you're
Spanish.
Feeling exotic. He wrote all the songs, performed all the tracks, and recorded them for release on Bandcamp. And I guess the way you get to 10 records is you just release 4 records in the summer of 2010 and then just keep at it. So that's what he did. I've only heard Teens of Style, Teens of Denial, and Twin Fantasy. All of those records I love. The latest record, Making a Door Less Open, for the most part I can't stand. Maybe for a reason. See earlier discussion. There are a half dozen kind of signature style Car Seat Headrest songs I could have picked. I narrowed it down to 3. And actually with Mark's help, we did a little horse trading, which I think is not out of bounds because we all ended up pretty happy, I think. I ended up picking Vincent.
Half the time I want to go home. Half the time I want to go home. For the past year I've been living in a town that gets a lot of tourists. In the summer months they come and they stay for a couple of days. But hey, I'm living here every day. I don't need the complications, I'm just in it for the beatings. It's almost a point of pride. They say that it doesn't happen that often. Pure sadism, pure sadism, pure sadism, pure sadism. I find it harder to speak when someone else is listening.
Quick note, Florian, maybe not so quick. Florian is my 17-year-old son. Listeners who don't know me, he loves this band. It's the kind of content that really speaks to teenagers. This guy's got gripes, and he's going to sing about them. He and I went to see them play at the House of Blues down at Fenway last summer, which was just a great show. Had to wait a half hour outside in the rain because the House of Blues, they can't figure out how to get people in the door. Like they need to hire a management consultant or something. Funny enough, they'll stop my 6-year-old daughter leaving the special show carrying a glass of water because of the open container laws. But they can't figure out how to put a bracelet on someone and stamp their hand like without leaving you out in the rain. Anyway, House of Blues. This is the second time I saw Car Seat Headrest. The show was great. They're one of the few bands. And so the reason why you want to see a band that's on the climb and not 30 years old is because the people there are into it. The whole crowd is into it. They're young. They have energy. They have strength in their legs. And the whole place just lights up, right? Really fun. Will Toledo comes out wearing a hazmat suit and this crazy gas mask helmet thing that has like LED screens where the eyes should be. And the eyes were programmed to like by the lighting people, like I would guess, to change color and shape, like while he was singing the song. So like different songs would have like fire eyes or like, it was cool as shit. I'm guessing he was probably wearing the mask because of COVID or something. Like didn't want to.
Yeah.
The same reason why Wayne Coyne at the Flaming Lips show never got out of the bubble. He was in the bubble.
He was in the bubble the whole time?
Fucking time. God. Yeah. They had to like reattach him to like reoxygenate the bubble sometimes.
It's crazy.
Anyway,
Jesus.
Really, really fun show. Really fun band, right? This is rock music.
This is a great
This is
band.
what I'm after.
I'm into this band.
The 3 songs I picked, by the way, were Fill in the Blank, all from the same record. Fill in the Blank, Vincent, and Drunk Drivers, Killer Whales. I was kind of surprised, Mark, that you would have preferred that I do Vincent. Tell me what you're thinking on that. I'm interested.
I just love the song. I just love the song, the guitars. I think it's everything you were talking about in the last segment on Yeah Yeah Yeahs that you miss in music. This embodies exactly what you're not getting. And there's an edge and an exuberance and a youthfulness. And what is he, like 23, 24? So like, again, this is, and I know they've been around a while, right? I think this 2010 maybe is when this band was formed or when it started, but still a short decade later, there is definitely not an edge that has been lost here. And I think that's the difference. There's just like an energy here. And if you're telling me this is the anthem of your 17-year-old, well, yeah, it makes sense because that's just what you get here, right? And even as a 49-year-old, I didn't feel like I was inappropriately aged to still be rocking out to this. It's just good. It's just good shit.
The guitars in this song are so good.
So good.
Yeah.
And I think that's what just drew me. Just the beginning.
Right out of the gate. So good.
Yeah.
Like the crescendo, like it's just
So
so good.
funny story. Florian's did a Car Seat Headrest, but he's listening to other of their records, and of course I had these like older ones. And we were driving down the road. I was like, "Have you heard this one?" And so I played Vincent. I put it on, and it just goes wah, 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 for like a full minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, and everyone's sitting in the car like, "Oh, this is great. This is wonderful. I see what you're saying, right?" And everyone was just cracking up, laughing at me. Probably thought it was just another krautrock song at that point. The difference between krautrock and Car Seat Headrest is what happens afterwards.
Right.
Right. But yeah, you're right. It's like he's got so much to say. It's just flying out of his mouth, and it's perfectly phrased and crafted, but it comes out in this just like I'm having a catharsis here, and the guitars are having a catharsis here, and yeah, it just puts you somewhere, you know?
It just reminds me of like young Rivers Cuomo, like, you know, like early Weezer. It just, there's this, I don't know, like it's not musically the same, but like what it represents from an energy perspective.
Yeah.
It's just, the lyrics are well written. There's an edge to it. It's intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just really good. And then I start to hear like a bass line that is very reminiscent of a bit of Manchester in there, like deeply rooted in there, that just, I don't know, that I think this song just like I kept listening to it over and over. Like it just, I didn't know this band either before you threw it our way. Like I'd never listened to a stitch of this, and it is just really good. Like it's a nice discovery for what I would consider, you know, it's newer music, and there's just not a lot of new, like you said, there's just not a lot of newer music that I really give a shit about. And this is good. It's good new music. Like there is hope when I hear music like this.
I think I might have had a breakthrough while you guys were talking, and maybe maybe can tie how I feel about the songs we've been talking about on this episode. I think whenever I hear the word maturity, right, in a record review, I'm like, oh God, I don't need that. And I think maybe that's like, I think I listen to rock music because I want to remember what it was like to be young. I want to remember what it was like to have that kind of broil of feelings and confusion and anger and joy, because we're 50, right? Like the best thing that we do all day is eat dinner, right? And sometimes dinner sucks and you're like, well, that was a day that I lost. I mean, we still live, we survive. We have great things in our life. We have family, we have friends, we get to do stuff like this. All of it matters, but it doesn't feel as heavy or as important as everything did when you were a kid. And I feel like rock music reminds you of that. And if it's not reminding you of that, then it's adult contemporary, which is fine. You know?
But
It's a good point. It really is. I think maybe this is why we gravitate towards this music too, right? Is we kind of like harnessing that feeling again.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's well said. Actually, a great place to kind of wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, I feel like I monologued a lot during this.
You just
good.
Just went deep. You hit on a chord.
Sure
Pardon
did.
the pun.
I'm also hungry, so that's I got to get that dinner now.
Well, good episode, everyone. I think we kind of
This was great.
hit on some stuff that I'm sure many of our listeners, both young and old, are probably grappling with as the music industry kind of bobs and weaves and takes shape into the future. So
I can reschedule a therapist appointment and not have to pay my copay because I got it all out just now.
yeah, free therapy. That's also what the Mixtape Diaries is here to do.
Love it.
Well, until next time, I guess.
Rock
All right,
on,
guys.
everybody.
We'll see you again soon.
See you on another time.
Bye.